what we want to do now is we want to think about the digestive system. And the digestive system was formerly known as the alimentary canal in the old days, but now it is called usually the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract. But whatever the case, depending on the book that you are reading, this is just the tract or the tube which runs down from the mouth all the way to the anus, which is down on the sphincter of muscles called the anus. Now, the digestive system, to begin with, is in 4 stages, or maybe it is in 4 many processes. There's going to be ingestion, that is the first stage, and ingestion involves moving the food on our mouth and then we take it inside. That is ingestion. Food is going to go in. The second process is digestion. Food is going to be digested, and digestion normally starts from the mouth. Food is going to be broken down from larger molecules into smaller molecules. And digestion is in 2 types. There is what we call chemical digestion, and there is also what we call physical digestion. Physical digestion involves the breaking of larger molecules of food into smaller ones using the teeth physically without involvement of the chemicals. But chemical digestion involves the digestion of food using enzymes or other chemicals such as gastric acids in the stomach. The other point is the second process is where we have absorption. Now, absorption involves the food being absorbed from the GI tract into other parts of the body. The food is going to be reabsorbed or absorbed from mainly specifically in the duodenum and the jejunum, the small intestines, and then it's going to go in the blood, and then it's going to be transported to all parts of the body where it is needed to bring about this growth or anything else which is related to our immune system, because everything that we eat is going to be absorbed from the blood, and that's going to happen in the small intestines. Absorption, that's the only way. The last part is elimination. Now, elimination or excretion, elimination and excretion are exactly the same thing. This process involves the removal of the undigested food the undigested food, the unneeded food, the unwanted food from the colon down to the outside world through this sphincter of anus, the sphincter of muscles, sorry, called the anus. Now, what we want to do is we want to look at this digestive system, the alimentary canal or the GI tract, in a little bit more details in its anatomical structures, so that we get a point of view of what these anatomical structures looks like, the digestive system. So where we have the anatomy of the digestive system, we are going to start from the mouth. So here we have the nose. Of course, here we have the mouth, and here we've got the neck. So in the mouth, there is heartbeat at the heart palate, and the heart, what the heart palate really is this heart part of the top of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, inside, upward. And the reason why it's hard, it's because there is a bone at the base of the nasal cavity, but at the roof of the oral cavity. This is the heart palate. And the hard palate is continuous with the nasal cavities. And at the back, we have the structure called the uvula or the uvula. There is that structure at the back when you open your mouth. Then that dangling that you see at the back of your tongue, then that is called the uvula, just at the back of the nasal cavity. And then down here we have the tongue, and it's in soft palate. And the tongue is continuous with the larynx, because your larynx is going to be here, and that part is the larynx. The larynx contains the vocal cord, and the vocal cord are going to control your speech, sound production. So here we have the vocal cord, the larynx, and the larynx is continuous with the trachea, because the trachea is the main airway. And the trachea is made up of these cartilaginous links to keep it patent. But whatever the case, this is not our main topic, but our main concern is that at the back of the trachea, there is an area called the esophagus. Posteriorly, immediately or posteriorly the trachea, there is a part called the esophagus, and this is the esophagus. So just at the top of the trachea, up there we have got the area called the epiglottis, and epiglottis is closed by the we have the glottis, and the glottis is the one which is closed by the epiglottis. So here we have the epiglottis. And normally when air is coming in, the epiglottis is going to open, allow for air to go inside the trachea, and then closes when there is food, the bolus of food coming down there. So here we have our main structures, and of course this is the nasal cavities. These are our nasal cavities, and what happens is that the back from here to here, from here to at the level of the larynx, is the pharynx. And the pharynx is divided into three main stages. At the level of the nasal cavity, it is the the nasal pharynx. At the level of the mouth, at the back of the mouth, it is called the oropharynx. At the level of the larynx, it's called the laryngopharynx. So here we have the laryngopharynx. Nasal, oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. But so what happens is that there's going to be ingestion. Food is going to go in. Here is another diagram which shows the complete of this digestive tract. So here is the esophagus. Down here we have the stomach. And the stomach is in three parts. There is the fundus of the stomach. So this is the fundus. And there is the body. So this is the body of the stomach. And we also have the pylorus. Sorry, this is ala. So pylorus. And this is the esophagus. Continuous esophagus. And just here we have the section of the sigmoid, the transverse colon. The colon, of course, is these large intestines. So here we have the large intestine. And at the back of the large intestine, the stomach, the small intestine will start here. And the first part of the intestines is called the duodenum. So it's duodenum, the first part of the intestine, the small intestines. The small intestines are in three parts. There is the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So here we have the ileum, the duodenum, sorry. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. And this is going to take food. It's going to take food to the large intestines. And the first part of the large intestine is called the cecum. So here is the cecum, and we notice that there is a blind-ended pouch just in the iliac fossa, the light iliac fossa here. And the blind-ended pouch, the pouch is called the appendix. So this is the appendix. This bit here so we can see that we have the colon or the large intestines. They are going to go down there up until the level of the anus. So this is the all complete alimentary canal. This is the whole tube. So what it is basically is that we have the colons are divided into several parts. So for example, here this is the ascending colon. We have the transverse, the ascending colon, transverse colon. And this one here is the sigmoid. Also, this one is the sigmoid, the bending by the hepatic. Sometimes it's called the hepatic fracture. So this is because in life, here we are going to have the liver. So there is a bit of bending of the large intestine, and that bending is what we call the hepatic fracture. And the transverse descending colon. This is the sigmoid colon. Of course, this is G, sigmoid colon. And then we have the rectum. The rectum, which is this last part of the large intestines. And then after that, we have the sphincter of muscles, which is the anus. So here is the diagram of the whole digestive system. Starts from the mouth and ends up to the anus. What we want to do now is we want to look at various components of this digestive system in a little bit more details. What we'll start from, where we'll start from is we'll start with the accessory organs. And the accessory organs of the digestive systems, these are the organs which are not part of this alimentary canal, but they play part in the digestive system, digestive process, for this process to be completed, to be coordinated in the way that it is physically, physiologically coordinated. And the first part that we are going to start with is with the teeth. So first of all, before we start with the accessory organs, we notice that food is gonna come down from here. That is called ingestion. Mastication, chewing. There's going to be the process of deglutition. Deglutition is simply the physiological term used for swallowing. So swallowing is also called deglutition. You're going to get the food, and then you will put it on your mouth. You start chewing, and that process is called mastication. And that process is coordinated because your tongue is loading that same food into a bolus, something called like a bolus, and your cheeks, the tissues in your cheek, are bringing that same kind of food that you are chewing in between the teeth so that it can be clashed. That process is called mastication. You are chewing. So all those things are going to play a part in this process of digestion. And as well as that, there is going to be salivary glands, and the salivary glands are going to be producing saliva. Saliva, of course, is going to soften the food so that you'll be able to eat it or to swallow it well. After that, you are going to swallow it. That's the process of deglutition. And deglutition is in three main stages. Swallowing. There is the voluntary stage where you put the mouth in here. The voluntary stage where you take the bolus of the food at the back of your mouth, because this is the uvula. So this is the uvula. So once you take the food at the back of your mouth, then the last stage, which is going to remain, is called the involuntary stage. That is not going to be controlled by yourself, but by the action of the autonomic nervous system through the action of the vagus nerve and the glossopharyngeal nerve. That's why it's called glossopharyngeal nerve, because it has to do with the the tongue, and the pharyngeal, the pharynx. So what happens when you swallow? The bolus of food is going to go down, and then there will be this process of peristalsis, where the muscles will be moving, the muscles of the GI tract will be moving the bolus of food down up to the way where they can be stored, because the stomach is like a reservoir lady for food. The stomach is going to store food before it's absorbed. And the reason why alcohol can start working as soon as you absorb it is because there's going to be some absorption of alcohol in the stomach before it goes to the large intestine, the small intestines, where absorption is going to take most of the place. Some will be absorbed here, even the water will be absorbed here. And after 45 minutes, alcohol can be absorbed now after it has passed down here through this sphincter. And this sphincter here is called the Pyloric Sphincter, because the sphincter is connected to the pylorus, or it is at the level of the pylorus, because this is the level of the pylorus of the stomach. And this level here, there is a sphincter also. And since this sphincter is connected, it's nearer to the heart, so it's called the cardiac sphincter. And the cardiac sphincter is very important, because this is the sphincter which is going to stop the regurgitation of food when you eat, the going back of food towards your your mouth or your oral cavity. And if you do, there are some people in life who have got this problem with the cardiac sphincter. And if you do, that's called the gastroesophageal reflux disease. And it's bad, because you've got this regurgitation of food, and that can lead to autodigestion of the tissues in the esophagus, starting to digest all your food. Now, what we want to do is we want to look at some of the accessory structures of the GIT. But before we do that again, it's important to look at the structures of the GIT themselves, the GI tract, in a little bit more detail. And what we want to do now is this is what we want to do. So for example, we take the lumen of the GIT. So we have the cross section of the GIT. So this is the GIT. This is the esophagus. And this part here is the lumen. So this is the lumen of the esophagus. Lumen is simply a wall. The wall inside the pipe, of course, that is a lumen. So you can imagine you take the pipe, just like you take the esophagus, and all the structures of the GIT. There's a lumen, and there's a part just immediately after the lumen. That part is called the mucosa. So this is the mucosa, and the mucosa lining of the GIT is very important because it is this which secretes mucus, which lubricates the food. Any food that is taken inside the GI tract is going to be lubricated as a result of this mucosa lining of the GIT. And if there is a problem with that, then there's going to be pain in swallowing, or of course, that's the part which is mostly eaten as a result of these peptic ulcer diseases. And this is the lumen, don't forget. Immediately after the mucosa, it's the submucosa. So this part here is the submucosa. And the submucosa is the one which contains blood vessels. Of course, we need blood vessels for these tissues of the GIT to be working, because they need to be supplied with blood. So that's the submucosa. And immediately after the submucosa, there is the muscular layer. And this muscular layer, which is immediately, is going to be circular in nature. It's going to be allowing for the contraction of the lumen of the GIT, so that it can allow this bolus of food to go down, because the bolus of food is going to be moving like this. So imagine this is a pipe, the pipe of the GIT. You have the bolus of food here. It moves from here, also here. So this is the first, this is the second. So the bolus of food is moving, and the contractions that are causing this, it's because of the muscular layer of the submucosa surrounding the GIT structures. So this is peristalsis. That's the process of peristalsis. And immediately after this is the muscular layer. And of course, as well as that, we don't just want muscles that will take it down, the bolus of food down. Also, we want the muscles that will go in this, like this, and this in this longitudinal section. And the next, that is the next muscle. So here we have the circular muscles. And after this, we have the longitudinal muscles. So these are going to stretch in a longitudinal way. So these are the longitudinal muscles. Now, immediately after this, we also have the last layer, which is the selosa. So here we have the selosa. And this is important clinically, because selosa secretes sebum, seba, because that from the name blood plasma. And this is important because it's the one which is going to lubricate. It's the one which is going to lubricate the GIT, because as we can see here, you can see that the way they are close, stretching over to each other, and in order to prevent that friction, there is going to be this selosa at the level of each of the intestines, of the lumen of the GIT. secreting cilium, and that cilium is going to lubricate the GIT. So here we have the structures of the GIT. Now, as well as that, it is also important to look at this also in a little bit more details. Have you ever wondered where most of the absorption takes place? Of course, absorption takes place in the villi. So what we want to do now is I want to look at this at a little bit more details at the level of the stomach. We want to see how hydrochloric acid is going to be produced, how pepsin as an enzyme which is involved in digestion is also going to be produced, and how gastric is going to be produced. So here we have the stomach. Imagine this is at the level of the stomach, because all these things are going to be there at the level of the stomach. Now, we take the cross section of each of these. When you look at the stomach looks like it has got walls. Small walls are all around it inside, and it's folded. When you are not full, it contracts, and when you are full, it contracts. And you should always remember in anatomy, when you see always something that is folded, it is there to increase the surface area. So the stomach is folded because it is there to increase the surface area of the stomach. No matter how type of food you may eat, how full you may be, the stomach will still stretch. So we want to take a look at the close anatomical structure of the stomach. We're going to find that the stomach has got these small walls. And these are the small walls of the stomach. So this is the lumen of the stomach. And these walls are called gastric pits, because everything that deals with the gastric is in the stomach. So they are called the gastric pits. And it's these walls that produce, number one, they are going to produce pepsin. They are going to produce gastric secretions such as hydrochloric acid. And they are also going to produce intrinsic factor, which is very important for the absorption of vitamin B, vitamin B12. Now, we have got different structures and types of cells along these same ones. So, for example, there are a type of cells called the zymogenic cells or the chief cells. And it's these cells which are going to produce pepsinogen, and pepsinogen is going to be produced. All of these cells are going to be producing pepsinogen, and once it's in the lumen of the stomach or the GIT, it's going to be converted to pepsin. So once it reaches here, it's going to be pepsin. And pepsin is important for this process of digestion. Also, they are going to produce an they are going to produce hydrochloric acid, and at this time, it's not these the chief cells, but also there is also the type of cells called the Palate cells. And the Palate cells are the cells which are going to produce two factors. They are going to produce intrinsic factor, And the intrinsic factor is very important for the process of vitamin B12 absorption. They are also going to produce hydrochloric acid. As well as that, they are going to produce hydrochloric acid. That's why we always have hydrochloric acid in the GI tract. But it's very important that we have the mucosa, which is going to be producing the mucus, so that it protects us from this hydrochloric acid, which is always unstoppably produced by these parietal cells. And the other name for the parietal cells, they are called the oxyntric cells. So you can call them the parietal cells or the oxyntric cells. Now, what we want to do, we want to look at these are some various accessory organs of the digestive system. So, for example, we can talk of the liver. The liver is in two lobes. And coming from the liver, we have the ducts. And these are called the hepatic duct. So there is this is the liver. There is because this is my left hand side here, and this is my right hand side. So this is the right hepatic duct, and this is the left hepatic duct. Coming here down, this is the common bile duct. And coming from the liver, you probably know we have the gallbladder, and the gallbladder is connected to the common bile duct via the cystic duct. So here we have the gallbladder. And here we have the cystic duct. And coming down here, of course, you probably know we have the liver, the pancreas. And the pancreas is described as an organ with the body, head, and the tail. So here we have the pancreas. And we know that the pancreas is both an exocrine and an endocrine organs. It contains exocrine and endocrine tissues. And coming here, we have the hepatopancreatic sphincter. And the hepatopancreatic sphincter is sometimes called the sphincter of Oddi. This is the sphincter. It's going to stop or control the coming in of some substances and going out. It's going to control the amount of the secretions from both the liver and the pancreas, because this is the pancreas, and the pancreas is described as an organ with the head. So this is the head of the pancreas, and this is the body, and this is the tail. And probably you know that in the pancreas, we have these small ducts. And these small ducts are called pancreatic islets of Langerhans. And the pancreatic islets of Langerhans are the endocrine tissues of the pancreas. This is the pancreatic duct, the one that we are interested in today, in this process of digestion. And the pancreatic duct is going to secrete digestive enzymes, pancreatic juice, And here we have the level of the duodenum. So this is the duodenum. Remember we said that the duodenum is this first 12 inches of 12 centimeters of the small intestine. So this is the duodenum. So what we want now is this process of digestion to take place. So the liver is going to secrete bile, and the bile will not go directly into the into the digestive system, but it will be stored in the gallbladder, because this is the gallbladder. And when there is the arrival of food in the small intestines, then that's going to stimulate for the contraction of the gallbladder, and the food is going to come, the bile is going to come down here, it's going to come here, because this is the food. And once the bile comes here, the bile will emulsify the fats. It will emulsify the fats. And also, as well as that, the pancreatic duct is going to produce some pancreatic juices, and all those things are going to aid in this process of digestion, further digestion into these smaller particles of food, so that it can be reabsorbed and be used by the body. Now, as well as that, so this is the process of digestion, further digestion, and what it is, for this food to be reabsorbed, to be absorbed in this, there is what we call the villi. So this is the structure of this lumen. And it's folded like this. And these are what we call the villi. This is where most of the absorption is going to take place when it comes to this process of digestion. So this is how the process is coordinated. And then when the food is not needed, the food has been digested, the remaining undigested food is going to be transferred into the cecum, because remember the cecum is this first part of the large intestine, the colon, and then after that it's going to be excreted. So before we finish our topic on digestion, it is also important to talk about the teeth, because also the teeth is involved in the process of digestion. All the accessory organs of the digestive system, the teeth, the salivary glands, the tongue, the liver, the pancreas, all those are important in the process of this digestion, because they play a very important role. So all of them are supposed to be known and mastered. And when we think about the teeth, there is this top part of the teeth which is hard, and despite being hard, this part of the teeth is also prone to, it is, for example, when you have got acid, then this part can be affected by this acidic solution, but it's hard, and that part is called the enamel. But also, as well as that, there is this part of the teeth also, and this part here is called the dentine. So this part is the dentine. And as well as that, we have this cavity. And this is a cavity which contains the blood vessels the nerves, because of course we are going to feel pain when we are hit on our nerves, on our teeth. So these are the nerves. So for example, here is the nerve pathways. And also we have got blood vessels supplying the teeth with the nutrients and the blood that it needs. Because of course when we have the diet which is not good in iron, which is not rich in iron, then we are going to have this teeth problem. So this is the blood vessels. And this part is called the pulp cavity. And we have the structures, the ligaments which are surrounding the teeth. They are holding the teeth at the level of the jawbone. So this is the jawbone. And the structures which are holding the teeth are called the periodontal ligaments. The periodontal The next structure in between is the cementum, the hard tissue, sorry. And lastly, to mention, the teeth is in 3 parts. There is this part at the level of the enamel, and this part here is called the neck of the teeth. And this part here, sorry, this part it's not the neck, it's the crown, sorry, please bear with me, the crown. And this is the neck. And the remaining part here at the level of the jawbone is what we call the root of the teeth. And this is the structure which is just beneath the jawbone. Take note of the notes that I will send.